So we both grew up in Minnesota, a small town outside of Minneapolis. We went to high school together there, and we were in band together there. The creativity started early for both of us in that. And for me, I went to art school in St. Louis at Washington University for a visual communications degree. I always wanted to do art. There was just never another path I wanted to follow. So.
Nice. So after Minnesota, I went to college out east. So I was actually recruited for ice hockey to Providence College in Rhode Island, and then I stayed east, did my master's and doctorate in Boston, and that's where I'm teaching now at Boston University, which is where I got my doctorate. So music always has been part of my life. It's definitely since high school I knew I wanted to do music. Also, it was just finding the right path to figure out how to make a living with it.
I think one of the main themes that my own art revolves around is the idea of communication, of being able to communicate something to somebody that you're not face to face with. And this performance gives us a whole other chance to work with that in a more immediate kind of setting where people can see the layers and the inspiration and what goes on, and they're able to connect over that. So.
Yeah, well, and for my art, I mean, yes, the same, but because my art form is in the moment for the audience, so my goal is always to bring the months and years of hard work that I put into that 2-minute piece and be able to bring it and, again, communicate it and with the interpretation that I'm trying to follow by the composer or in part of my own interpretation and give it to the audience right away also.
The brush read concept came about, we originally came up with the idea in about 2009, so this is our 10th season together. We originally envisioned it as a 6-week project to do a series of shows over a very short time period and have it be sort of an encapsulated project. However, it didn't work out that way. I was living on the West Coast, she was on the East Coast. We didn't have the time and funds to spend putting this project on, but we decided we loved the idea so much we wanted to pursue it. And so we have, over the last 10 years, we have done these shows together just because we love this project, and the synergy is great. The whole idea, you want to explain how the idea came about?
Well, I saw Linnea doing live painting with a rock band. And the set that I saw her do was really short. So in my head, and I was like, well, I can play longer. I can play so she can paint more. So we talked about it one summer. I think it was the summer before we started, right?
Yeah.
So summer of 2008, and I had her listen to some music that I was playing, contemporary classical saxophone music.
Really different from a rock band.
It's very different. And she liked it. So I was like, well, let's try and do it. So we did it. We came up with the plan for 6 weeks, and we did one show, and then realized that we're going to need more than 6 weeks. So we continued to do it, and it's such a great experience. Well, for me, it's the whole concept right now around the arts and how important they are, or for some people, how not important they are. So it's always trying to keep the arts in the mindset of the wider culture in America right now, which is very tough. So because teaching, for me, all my students come in and they're like, we want to be musicians. And my job is to help them be the best musician they can be, but also try and figure out how they're going to make a living and pay rent from month to month. So it's this balance, I think, for me right now is the hardest, to continue to teach, but also continue to do my own art in a way that I can also afford to do it. So
yeah, that is definitely a constant challenge, is needing to be a business person as much as an artist, and to be able to promote yourself above all the basically noise that's out there. Everyone has a platform, and to be able to make yourself stand out is huge. The geographical distance between us is definitely a challenge for this project.
Yes.
As we mentioned, our original project or vision for the project was to do it within a really short time period, but that just didn't work out with where we were living at the time. And so it's also put something interesting into the project, I think, though, to be able to see how we've evolved over this much time is, I think, an added bonus to the project. And it's something like I've loved seeing in our work too. So
Yeah, absolutely. The music's changed, the art has changed, the process has evolved a lot over the last 10, 11 years. So
that being said, I would love to do this again in such an intensive time period. See what happens when we do it that way.
But my musical projects right now are basically solo repertoire for recitals, and I've just started a trio with a soprano and a pianist. The soprano is Colombian and the pianist is from Japan, so we're trying to get that kind of mixed culture all together. We just gave our first performance about a month ago, so that's my most recent project, at least.
In my art practice, I have been working on, I keep a studio practice. I do a lot of paintings for just galleries, exhibits. I like to do all kinds of stuff around town. I also do commissioned work, so paintings for particular people, and I have several other collaborations that I do as well. I've got an artist friend, Stephanie Dillon in Minneapolis, that we have been combining our work in new ways, and over the last year creating a body of work that we plan to exhibit and show around. Ooh, dream project. Wow, I love this one. I think just to have the space and time to get really in depth with, say, this project or just any kind of painting and creating. I don't even have a specific answer for this.
No, I don't think I have a specific answer either. It's one of those things where I was talking with my musician friends a few weeks ago, and we all kind of had the same idea. It'd be great to have the time and the resources to be able to make art, make music with our friends. It's a special relationship when you can make art with your friends, because there's more, the engagement between friends is obviously more intimate, and I think that comes across to the audience. So we all just need time and space and money, really, to be able to do our art.
I think advice that is really important is that this is something I've just heard recently explained in a really beautiful way too. Like you can make a piece of art any day, do something creative, but it's when you do it every day that you create a body, a representation of what you do. And so it's practice, it's dedication, it's sticking with it, because it's not easy.
Absolutely. My advice for the students would definitely be to find a balance between your art and your mental health, because they do combine. They obviously interact every day. So the balance to be able to keep working, as Linnea said, working as hard as you can every day to accomplish your dreams, but then finding that balance in the everyday things that you need to do, whether it's taking a break to do some yoga, or if you're a musician, maybe going on hikes, or if you're an artist, playing your flute a little bit, or I have a lot of musician friends who paint, actually. So it's just finding that balance between being very dedicated and putting the work in, but also then not losing your dreams and finding the balance of life every day.